Hello, today the lecture will focus on family diversity. First, we're gonna start off by defining what family is. So the most common definition or what family refers to is people related by blood and genetically bound to each other. So for example, these could include relationships such as parents, children, aunts, uncles, second cousins, grandparents, and great-grandparents. Families are also created legally by marriage, adoption, or formalized fostering. And there are many ways that families can be created socially, where there is no biological or no legal relationship. These sometimes can be neighbors, godparents, or longtime friends. They're considered family sometimes for individuals. So we can say that these can be also called chosen family. So there are also different definitions of family, as we can see here in this table. So for example, the definition according to the Census Bureau, it only counts families who are biologically and legally family, but not those who are formed socially without a legal sanction. So for example, think about the types of family that would not be considered family by this definition. So in contrast to the Census Bureau, the definitions of different family scholars here seen in the table, they include families formed socially along with families formed biologically and legally. And it goes even further with a purely social definition of family. So which of these definitions is the best fit for you to call family? So that's a question that you need to ponder about. So now let's talk about theoretical perspectives for understanding families. So one of these theoretical perspectives to understanding families is a psychodynamic perspective. So as we use this approach, we can think, or we would think about families as a mix of ideas from psychodynamic and social systems perspective. So social workers who approach family situations from this perspective assume that current and interpersonal problems are the result of unresolved problems in the family of origin. So the family into which we were born or in which we were raised, they suggest that these unresolved problems continue to be acted out in current intimate relationships, and patterns of family relationships are passed down from generation to generation in intergenerational relationships. So this includes the idea of differentiation between thinking and feeling. So family members must learn to own and recognize their feelings, but they must also learn to think about and plan their lives rather than reacting emotionally at times that call for clear thinking. So it is assumed that many family problems are based on family members' emotional reactivity to each other. So this aspect of differentiation is very similar to Daniel Goleman's concept of emotional intelligence, which was discussed in chapter 4. And then there's also the idea between, or that is called differentiation between the self and other members of the family, which emphasizes that while recognizing their interdependence with other family members, individuals should also follow their own beliefs rather than make decisions based on reactivity to the use of others or the need to win approval. They should do this, however, without attacking others or defending themselves. A clear sense of self allows them to achieve some independence while staying connected to other families members. This aspect is similar to Howard Gardner's concept of interpersonal intelligence. Another key concept in the psychodynamic perspective on family is triangulation. Triangulation occurs when two family members inappropriately involve another family member to reduce the anxiety and the dyadic relationship. So for example, if a couple is having marital relationships, they may focus their energy on a child's school problem to relieve the tension of their marital relationship. And the child's school problems then become the stabilizing factor in the marriage, and this problem will not improve until the parents look at their relationship problem. So this is what triangulation means. This concept of triangulation or psychodynamic perspective has been criticized because it pathologizes the value of connectedness that prevails in some cultures. And there is some merit to this criticism because, again, it criticizes cultures where there is connectedness. So another perspective is the family systems perspective. So this approach requires a focus on relationships within the family rather than individual family members. So persons are not thought as individuals, but as part of an overall patterns of roles and interactions, and all parts of the family systems are interconnected. So these even include the larger systems within the family system, including the neighborhood, local community, state, nation. Again, so these are all interconnected. So if something, for example, a stroke happens to a grandmother, if she suffers from a stroke, the extended family system is also going to be impacted by this unexpected illness or stroke. So we need to keep that in mind. So we need to also, another perspective that we should consider is a feminist perspective. So this perspective proposes that family should not be studied as a whole system with the lens of families, because such attention results in failure to attend patterns of dominance, subjugation, and oppression in families. So this is related to chapter 2, which has a focus on feminist perspective. And it also, this perspective also emphasizes that we need to take an intersectional feminist theory approach, which suggests that no single category is sufficient to understand social oppression, and categories such as gender, race, class intersect to produce different experiences for women of various races and classes. So it emphasizes that we need to keep in mind different factors or categories which allow us to better understand the experience of women, and not just with the idea that they experience a specific challenges because they're women, that there are other factors that may exacerbate their condition further. And another perspective is a family stress and coping perspective. So the primary focus of this is, again, also that the entire family is a unit. And the foundation of this perspective is based on Ruben Hill's stress and coping research, which was conducted during war-induced separation and reunion. It theorizes that to understand whether an event and the family system becomes a crisis, we also need to understand both the family's resources and the family's definitions of the event. So the main idea is that the impact of stressors on the family is influenced by other factors, most notably the internal and external resources available, and meaning the family mix of the situation. With some updating, this theory continues to be the basis for examining family stress and coping. So this model also describes a family transition process following a stressful event. So it talks about a period of disequilibrium, which is followed by 3 possible outcomes: recovery to the family's previous level of functioning, maladaptation, or permanent deterioration in the family's functioning, or improvement in the family's functioning over and above the previous level. So under certain circumstances, a stressor event can actually be beneficial if the family's coping process strengthens the family in the long term. They might, for instance, come together to deal with the stressors. So this is another model that